Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everybody. This is the Slider Review. I'm here today to talk to you about Devious Maids Season 1. Alright, so I know it's not Latino Heritage Month, but I just got through watching Season 1. I want to talk about it, and I don't want to wait several months until it comes back around in the year. Plus, once it does come around in the year, people will probably watch it in anyways. So, yeah. So I have finally got to see this series. Well, at least season one. That's as far as I gotten, and I can't wait to watch season two. So this show came out in 2013, and it lasted all the way until 2016. And so the reason why it took me so long to watch this show is because it was on Lifetime, and I don't do cable no more. And so I remember hearing about this show and wanting to watch it. And then I was very shocked when it got canceled after 4 seasons. And so this show is created by Mark Cherry. And he's best known for Desperate Housewives. He's created probably about, 5 shows probably. The Golden Girl spinoff in the 90s. Some random show in the 90s. Desperate Housewives, of course, this show, and Why Women Murder. And so he's very known for making female-centric shows and stuff that I wanted in the 90s. And his shows are always really, really good. And like normally with all his shows, well, at least with Desperate Housewives and Why Women Murder, he has a certain flair to his directing and his writing and stuff. And when you watch this series, the writing is there. Like you can tell, like some of this is his writing. You can tell that comedic, stuff that's going on and all the other craziness that's going on. But it didn't have that comedic, quirky flair to the directing. That's because he didn't direct none of the episodes. The comedic stuff was there. It's just some of the things it was just off center. Like it missed this comedic cue and stuff. But it was still funny. It just didn't have that Mark Cherry flair to it. You know what I'm saying? Like the other 2 series I mentioned. Because you can tell his work when you see it. He has a very unique style and everything. And so this show was also executive produced by Eva Longoria. Of course, she played Gabrielle in Desperate Housewives. And so I remember hearing about this and Devious Maids and how it's supposed to be Latino-centric and stuff like that. And I'm like, cool, that'll be awesome to watch and everything. So this was produced by ABC. But ABC did not want to pick up the pilot. Instead, Lifetime did. Little strange that ABC didn't want to pick it up. I wish they did, because if they did, I would have been able to watch it a whole lot sooner. And it would have had more than just 13 episodes, because it did a really good job in season 1 with 13 episodes. It's just the problem is when you get halfway to the season, characters start to develop and their storylines change, and it feels weird, because it's just all this happened 6 episodes ago, and then the last couple of just it just doesn't feel the same. You know what I'm saying? So I wish it would have had more episodes and stuff. But that's kind of weird how he hasn't worked for ABC since Desperate Housewives. And I do wonder if it's because of that lawsuit by Nicolette Sheridan. Because he went to Lifetime and then he went to CBS Paramount after that and never went back to ABC. Because that lawsuit, something about he was always shouting at her and supposedly he slapped her. And this happened before the 5th season of Desperate Housewives. After that, she was killed off. And yeah, they went through that legal process for the longest time. I think the first time she lost, but then the second time they settled, I believe, out of court. Not really 100% sure. So that could have something to do with it. I don't know. But this was really cool that they wanted to make a Latino-centric show. And the first season was a smash hit with 300 million views and stuff. But then it started to dip by season 2 to only 100 million and stuff, and it only slightly dipped after that. Now, when watching the first season, I did not look on Wikipedia. I just wanted to be surprised, surprised, surprised. But after watching it, I went to Wikipedia because of the simple fact a lot of the male actors look very familiar. So I'm like, who the heck is this? So I wanted to look them up. And there I saw it. Some people only lasted 1 season. Some people only lasted 2, while others lasted the remainder of the series. I'm all like, oh no. So I can probably tell that since it ended on a cliffhanger with season 4, most likely it started to fall and sink around season 3, and they tried to keep it afloat in season 4 with only 10 episodes and stuff. And sadly, it was unable to do it. And you know, that's quite a shame because there aren't that many Latino focused like shows and stuff like that where it centers around them. And as for the Latino community, they was actually split when it came to this show. Some saw it as like great representation because they don't get to see themselves on television. Others saw this as disrespect because the show follows that of 4 maids and everything that are all Latino. Well, technically 5 maids that are all Latino, but it centers around mainly those 4. But there's a 5th one in there too. And so they saw this as demeaning because, you know, this is set in Beverly Hills, and then in California, there are lots of Latino maids that work for a lot of rich white people and stuff. And they didn't want that portrayed. Then they said it fell into stereotypes. Rosie, her character has not aged well. I can tell by watching season 1. She's like a Mexican immigrant and everything, illegal one at that. And like, you know, she smuggled her son in. And it's like when her character is very oblivious to stuff. She's good spirited and good natured, super religious, super sweet and kind, really hypocritical. But then it's the oblivious part that kind of gets me. Like she can't even type. She has to use like 2 fingers and stuff. And it's a lot of things that she don't understand. That is very stereotypical and stuff. But then again, like I said before, stereotypes are based on fact. So there are people that are like that, you know what I'm saying? But I can understand why people got like upset about that and stuff. And, you know, this is actually based on a telenovela series and stuff, which I had no idea. And other people in the Latino community got upset because I noticed this when I listened to it in the first episode. In the first episode, every time one of the main Latino characters would come on screen, you would hear like salsa music and stuff. And I thought to myself, why? Why did you do that, Mark? Because and not only that, but when I heard Eva Longoria was like, you know, the executive producer, I'm like, why did she allow that to happen? Why? Because when she was on Desperate Housewives in the first season, her and the actor who plays Carlos were pissed at Mark Cherry because every time their characters came on screen, you would hear salsa music. And they say this is offensive and you don't do that with all the other characters. And I was surprised that it was repeated here. I just want to point out that one thing I cannot stand about Hollywood, and I just said this before, is then when they have a show that's supposed to depict a certain race, they cast people of other races. This show is supposed to center around Mexican maids and 1 Puerto Rican maid. Out of all of the 5 actresses on there, only 1 of them is actually Mexican. 2 of them, like I said before, are Dominican. 2 of them are actually Puerto Rican, and there's only 1 who is actually of Mexican descent. I don't understand that. If it's supposed to be like all these characters who say, and they literally say they are Mexican and they are from Mexico and this and that, it's just weird knowing they're not that real race. It can't be that hard to find Mexican actresses and stuff. And Hollywood always does this, just like I said with Fear the Walking Dead. So yeah, I can understand why some of the people in the community were like upset about certain things, you know what I'm saying? And like so that is really tough because they said, well, how come their characters couldn't be like doctors or like, you know, lawyers or this and that? And, you know, I have no idea what the telenovela series is about. I'm assuming since it's adapted from that, maybe they're maids, maybe they're not. I have no idea. And so, like, yeah. But I am kind of glad I did wait to watch this series. Like, it took me a long time, and because I couldn't find on what streaming app it was on. I think it was one I didn't have at that time, and then I found it on Hulu. So I'm like, cool. So I added it to my list, but then I kept forgetting to watch it for many, many years. And so now I'm just like, well, crap, dude, I need to hurry and watch this show. And I'm so glad I did. Also, I'm glad I waited because of the simple fact I now know everybody who's on that show for the most part. Going into this show, the only people I knew of was Susan Lucci, Rosalind Sanchez, and what's her name? Dana Ramirez. Those were the only people I knew of at that time. But now, because of other shows, I know Anna Ortiz, and I know that of Judy Reyes and stuff. And I know a few of the male actors, like the one dude who plays the black guy on the show, which typical Mark Cherry, dude. Like, dude only lasted one season. I'm just like, this is weird. When it comes to Desperate Housewives, one of the things he was criticized about the biggest was how there was never no black people on the show. And then when he got criticized, he added a black family in the second season, one of the worst storylines ever. Then he introduced another around season 6 or 7 just to be a Edie filler and everything. And she was like a diva and had like an affair and just there's just like a nasty attitude and just all kind of crap. And it's just he can't write black characters that well. Even on his Why Women Murder show, she was a terrible character. I don't know what it is with him and black people and stuff. But like yeah, like I recognize like some of the like cast members and stuff. But also when it comes to stereotypes of this show, not only does it have Latino stereotypes, but it have white stereotypes as well. So pretty much all of the women on the show, like I said before, are Latina and they're maids, and they work for rich white people. Now, the problem with the white characters in this show, it does the stereotype of showing what it's like to have like a rich white person and have a maid of color and how they're snooty and treat them all nasty and stuff. But it cranks it up like to like 50 to 100 sometimes. And so like, and yeah, I do believe there's a lot of them that do get treated very badly and stuff. But not all of them must be treated badly. And, you know, I do understand because there's some people who are like Latino and maids, and some folks ask them like, why do you work for this rich person who works for the government and wants your people to like go home and stuff, and want everybody else in your country or everybody else in your race to like get out the country and stuff. And they do it because, you know, the pay is extremely good and stuff. And it's really sad because all these women on the show are poor and have to work for these rich people. Now, back to the white people and the stereotypes. My God, I'm not even joking. Like, it's hard to distinguish for the most part all the characters because even though they have their own individual personalities, it's split in half. All of the men are perverted sleazebags, and all of the women are either like, you know, don't have jobs of their own and live off their husbands for their wealth, are slightly racist or like super racist and everything. And that's how all of them are. I'm like, there has to be at least one good one. And there's one who's pretty good, but she does kind of like a slimy thing. And it's just like, man, they're all the same on this show. And it's just weird to make that stereotype because not all of them are terrible. Now, out of all the rich people that they work for, there's only one who is Latina. And he starts off really good for like the first 5 episodes or so. But then that's only because he's not really even in the show. He's always gone. But when you see him, he's sweet and kind. After that, however, when he does come back and becomes full-time, he is a major jerk. Even to the point where his house manager has cancer and he really acts like he doesn't care. And then he has like a huge secret and he just starts acting like really nasty and stuff. And so like he just comes off as a really like jerk type character. In this first season, there are no rich black people, so none of them have like like hired help and stuff. I'm just like, really? There are like no rich black people in this series, like not even one, not even a background character and everything. Like, what is Mark's Cherry's like problem with black people? I wonder. I have no idea, and yeah, I just have like no idea and stuff. But like one thing I have noticed about this show is that one thing that I can't stand that happens in so many shows is when people play racist that they're not. Like, okay, the four main women, only one of them's Puerto Rican, and she states it constantly in the show. And the actual actress is Puerto Rican. Two of the Latino actresses who are supposed to be Mexican are actually Dominican. So they're like Afro-Latino. And you can tell by looking at them because of how dark they are and how they have black features in their face. So I'm all like, why not just make their characters Dominican? You didn't have to make a Mexican or cast an actual Mexican. Now, as for the other woman, I don't know what her race is supposed to be. They never like stated it and stuff. And this reminds me so much of Hollywood. They do this all the time. If they need like a Latino show or they make like a Latino show or movie, they will just cast any Latino, no matter what race they are, and say that they're this race and they're not. Same thing with Asian people and stuff. And I remember on Fear the Walking Dead season 2, the characters went to Mexico and they actually filmed in Mexico. So I assumed all of the main characters that were supposed to be Mexican and recurring ones, I assumed they were going to be Mexican because they filmed in Mexico. No, they are actually every other type of Latino race they are. And one of the kids is like Italian of all things, and the other one is Mari. And I'm just kind of like, not a single one is actually Mexican, and you're filming in Mexico, and the only Mexicans are like the background characters. Like, I don't understand Hollywood when they do that. So I don't have a problem with the two Dominican actresses on the show. I just wish their characters would have been like actually, would have been like Dominican, or they would have cast like Mexican characters. Because why do that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that crap. It's kind of like in Star Trek Next Generation, Patrick Stewart, who's like, British, played like a Frenchman. And like, why? Just make him British. And stuff. But this show does star a lot of famous people that like, I now recognize. And like one of them is Anna Ortiz, the other one is Dana Ramirez, the other one is Rosalind Sanchez, and the other one is Judy Reyes. And of course, I remember Susan Lucci from All My Children. Okay, let's get into some character profiles. Now, one thing you're gonna notice on watching this show when it comes to guest stars or recurring characters in later seasons is that they like have appeared at some point in time on Desperate Housewives. And like, so that's just natural because, he's worked with those people before, and it's just kind of cool and weird at the same time seeing these people again. Although I did enjoy the picture I saw of Eva Longoria like in a later season. I haven't got that far yet. All right, so let's start with some character profiles. Because this show has a huge cast, and I mean a huge cast. So let's start with Valentina. She is a maid, the fifth maid in the show, and she's kind of like in her own world. She doesn't really interact with the other maids at all. In fact, you never see her talk to the other maids at all, except for Zola, and that's only because Zola is her mom. Now, Valentina is about 19, I think. And she wants to be like, do fashion. She wants to design clothes and stuff like that. Her mom has worked in Genevieve's house for 20 years. And that's pretty much where, like, Valentina has grown up. Even though they don't live there, they're not live-in maids and stuff. And so Genevieve has a son named Remy. And Valentina has crushed on him since she was a kid. And so, like, because of that, she wants to pursue him. But her mom is very overbearing. Her mom does not want her to date him whatsoever ever, because she feels that, since he's rich and she's poor, that he will look down on her, or like he'll end up cheating on her. And so her mom is extremely strict and won't let her do like nothing. But of course, she does it on her own. Now, out of all the Latino women on the show, she is the only one with black hair that I've noticed and stuff that I find really interesting. So, anyways, she is constantly sneaking around trying to hang with him and his friends and stuff like that. And it starts to work and he starts to like her. All until his family has like a party. And her mom tells her, you have to cater to them. You have to reveal to his friends that you're a maid. She doesn't want to do that, but her mom makes her anyway. And of course, it's like very heartbreaking to see, because all of his friends treat her completely different when they realize she is a maid. They just completely look down on her, make her get them drinks and all kind of stuff. And it's really hurtful to see the look on her face. Now, her mom was right to be strict, because people in their family aren't very good. For the most part, except for Genevieve, but she's just like a ditz in the head. But like when it comes to that of like Remy, he does momentarily break her heart, because she finds a woman in his bed and he knows she likes him and stuff, but they're not dating. So after that, and after she ends up getting rid of the new mistress and everything, because she's just so rude, next thing you know, Remy turns out to have a drug problem, which makes for one of the most hilarious things ever, because Valentina thinks that his drugs is washing powder. So she uses it on his clothes. Now, the girl's 19. She can't be that stupid. You know what I'm saying? And she's lived in that house for years and stuff she hasn't lived there for years, but she's known him for years and just all kind of stuff. Like, she can't be that stupid. She just can't. I mean, who really uses powder washing detergent? Most people use liquid. And, and you're not going to keep it in a Ziploc bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just kind of weird. So anyway, it makes for a very hilarious thing. So of course she has to tell her mom, and the mom tells his dad and everything. He has to go back to rehab. When he gets out, they start dating, and she's happy because she's always wanted him and everything. Now she gets mad at her mom because she realizes the mom used to date his uncle, and the uncle broke her heart. So she just thinks they're all cheaters and just no good and stuff like that. Well, it turns out when he gets out of rehab and he meets her father and everything for the first time, she starts to get pissed at him because he doesn't know nothing about her. He doesn't know her last name. He thinks that she has brothers and stuff, and she doesn't. And she realized, look, yo, for 19 years, you don't know the first thing about me, but she knows everything about him. And so there's a little side plot with her later on in the series when Genevieve brings home this 17-year-old blind man. And it's because Genevieve has lost all her money and they're about to get kicked out and stuff like that. And so the old man, when he realizes how old Genevieve is, because she lied about her age, he wants nothing to do with her, but he just wants a baby because he's never had one, and this and that, and he's getting older. So he wants a surrogate, and he picks Valentina. He offers to pay for her college and this and that if she'll just have his baby. She agrees because she just wants to go to fashion school and stuff like that. But of course her mom intervenes. Her mom is always having her back. Her mom is always looking out for her because she has all these wild, kooky like, just does whatever she wants and never thinks. And that's the problem with her character. She never thinks. So after that's ended, she's back with Remy, and he wants to go to that of Africa to help, like, in a clinic and stuff like that. And he wants her to go with him. So she agrees, just out of the blue, just want to go to Africa. And the mom's like, no, like, this is not happening. But of course, she ain't listening to her mom because she's a grown woman. So she makes Remy write like a fake letter breaking up with her. And so it works until it's later revealed that the mom like rused her and stuff. And after that, she wants nothing to do with her mom no more. And she goes to Africa. And so just a little like, spoiler for season 2. She leaves Africa very early because her and Remy got into like an argument and stuff. When she's back home, she's pissed at her mom living in a crappy apartment. And then Genevieve, like, wants her to live with them. But, her mom, of course, doesn't want that. Basically, what she does is she starts working for the pals. And after that, she starts like dating like the pool boy. Her and Remy don't really talk no more. I forget what they argued about, but they argued about something. And it's mainly because the character had to be written out the show because he is also on Pretty Little Liars playing Jason. Now, as for her mom, Zola, played by Judy Reyes. Now, I remember Judy from Claws. I remember her as the Joker henchwoman, in The Batwoman. And so, like, she works for Genevieve. Genevieve is played by Susan Lucci. And so, like, she is the type of maid that is, like, will tell you how it is. She don't care who you are. She will like just like sass you and everything. And she will just be upfront, and she will call you an idiot. She don't care if you're her boss and everything. So she's one of those type of maids that just tells you how it is and everything. And it's like really funny. And she's always giving it to like her daughter, and she's always giving it to Genevieve because Genevieve is very ditzy in the head. She, I don't know, when we first see her, I think she's under the table having like a panic attack or something like that. But basically, she's been married 6 times. She messes around with like the help, but we never see her mess around with the help. But like Genevieve is very caring, very nice, but just so ditzy in the head. Like when she was looking for Zola, she went into Zola's neighborhood but couldn't find her, and she ended up in a chop shop and dressed the way she is with all her fancy like jewelry and everything. And it's like these 3 stereotypical looking Latino men, in the chop shop, and they're just like looking at her, wondering why she's there of all places. Because thinking about it, like if she goes there with all her rich money and jewelry and stuff, she's most likely gonna get robbed and stuff. But in her mind, she doesn't realize that. And so Zola is just pretty much like an overbearing mother. She just wants the best for her daughter, but she knows her daughter doesn't think clearly and everything. And the reason for that is because she fell in love with Genevieve's brother back in the day. And because of that, he would like step out and cheated on her and broke her heart. And it's one of the most devastating things that she just can't get over. So when he comes back and says, oh, he's like single now, she drops the plate and all kind of other stuff, or serving tray, because it makes you seem like she's interested in him and stuff, which she kind of is and kind of isn't because she's married. And, they're not rich whatsoever, and even though they work for a very rich woman and they get paid, they still live in a low income type house and stuff. And so when talking to, like, the brother and everything, she's all like, you can take me out, but you take me out to a fancy restaurant. So they go there, and the daughter overhears that. So the daughter realizes this is why she doesn't want her dating Remy, and she thinks her mom's a hypocrite. And so while at, like, the restaurant, because see, the thing is that, like, the brother told her that, oh, you still look good after all these years, and that made her like, ooh, what I'm saying? But then she realized he just wants to sleep with her. So she comes to her senses and she just doesn't talk to him no more. And what's interesting is that this show has so many characters from Desperate Housewives making an appearance. The guy who played Carl is like, the guy that Zola used to like be madly in love with. And so pretty much Zola's time throughout the show is just like trying to keep her daughter like safe and try to tell her what to do, and also trying to help out that of Genevieve, because Genevieve is just like a mess. When Genevieve, like, business manager type person, steals all her money, she's broke and about to be like homeless and this and that. So she goes back and she talks to her ex-husband, that's Remy's father. He'll give her a check if she sleeps with him. Zola's like, no, don't do that. You can learn how to, like, cook. You can learn how to sew. You can learn how to do your own hair. And Genevieve's are like, nah, I'll just put out. And so, like, she ends up falling for this, well, not really falling, finding husband number 7. She finds a blind man who's in his 70s. She's in her 60s. She pretends to be in her 30s. But when it's later revealed, I think it's Zola who tells him the age. No. Somebody tells, somebody tells him that, like, Genevieve's father was in the Vietnam War. So then he realizes her age and stuff. And so he doesn't want nothing to do with her, which is really hypocritical, because he's 70, she's about 50 or 60, and he doesn't want nothing to do with her. But his main priority is wanting a child. And I already told you about that storyline. And so after that, Genevieve, she pretty much goes back to her ex-husband, Felipe, because she starts to fall in love with him and wants to marry him. But, Zola's like, no, he ain't no good. He constantly cheats. So Zola sets him up. Basically, like, she has, like, a friend show up in a skimpy dress with her cleavage showing, and he tries to get that woman his business number. But Genevieve doesn't care and wants to marry him anyways. Carmen, she is played by Rosalind Sanchez, and I remember her, and she was one of the main stars I knew of this show. I remember her from Rush Hour 2. I remember her from, what is it? Is it Without a Trace, I think it is? Or is it Cold Case? It's one of those two shows. I think it might be Cold Case. Or is it Without a Trace? I don't know. It's one of those two CBS cop shows that was on. And I remember her from that. And, I remember her from Rush Hour 2. Anyway, she plays Carmen. And Carmen actually had a guest role very briefly in the season finale, or series finale, Desperate Housewives, playing Carmen of all people. So anyways, she is the vixen. Like, she is an opportunist. She is very selfish. She only thinks about herself. And, that's pretty much how she is throughout the entirety of the season. And also season 2. But she does have, like, a soft spot to her a little bit in this season. But for the most part, she is all about herself. And the thing about her is that she's 36 and she wants to be a singer. So she starts working for Alejandro. Alejandro is Afro-Cuban. And Carmen is Puerto Rican. And she's played by an actual Puerto Rican actress. So that's good. Because when it comes to Zola, I think Zola is supposed to be Mexican. But she's played by a Dominican Republic woman. So, anyways, Carmen's whole ambition in life is just to be a pop singer. And she knows that, once you get like close to like 40, nobody's gonna want you in the music business because in 40, that's normally when singers like retire and start going on tours and stuff like that. Most people like people who do music around in their 20s and 30s. That's just how it is for some bizarre reason. And so, of course, when a woman hits 40 doing anything, that's pretty much when nobody wants anything to do with her, whether she's an actress or a news anchor or whatever. And it's like a real sad, and because that's like real day, everyday type stuff. Because think about it when it comes to singers who are in their 40s, like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and all of them, is that they're pretty much retired. And no matter how many times they try to have a comeback, fans aren't interested because the most people who listen to newer music are younger people. They're teenagers, they're people in middle school, high school, and people early in college. And the older people who listen to music, they pretty much just listen to whatever it is they grew up on, or, they'll listen to probably some new stuff, or they'll get into something completely different, like music from like another world. And so the music business is very, very, very hard to get in. And it's hard to stay in because about like the first 5 years of your music career, that's pretty much it. Like you're done after that. And if you get pregnant, oh, you're really done after that. And so like she starts working for Alejandro, trying to like, get him to listen to her music because he is a famous Latin singer. Her frenemy on the show is a woman named Odessa. Odessa is a woman from Russia, and she is the house manager, and she cannot stand Carmen. She doesn't want Carmen to play her music for Alejandro or nothing like that, but Carmen always finds a way. And it's to the point where he gets her in touch with like that of a music producer. So she doesn't tell the music producer her age. Now, while there, she meets a man. Ooh, I forget his name, but he's black. Is it Sam? I think it's Sam. And so Sam is a really nice guy, and he's the only black dude on the show. And so, like, he has the hots for her. He's basically the butler to Alejandro. And so, when she meets this music producer, he starts putting the moves on her in the back of the limo, which he wants to go to, like, a hotel. Sam doesn't want to, but, Carmen's all like, she'll do it. Like, she'll do anything, even if she has to, like, give up her innocence and stuff to a man, because she just wants to be, like, in music. And so him and her have like a flirtation throughout the entire season. And so Odessa is always trying to ruin things for her because Carmen treats her like crap and Odessa treats her like crap. And even when it's like Odessa's birthday and stuff, like I forget something happens. Something happens where the music producer comes to the house and what is it? Carmen doesn't want to serve him and everybody else because of course the dude don't know she's a maid. So they make Odessa do it. And Odessa's like, yo, that ain't my job. And so because of that, she knocks over like a glass and makes Odessa clean it up. So Odessa tells the music producer, oh yeah, she's about to turn 37 on her birthday. So of course he wants nothing to do with her after that. Basically, those two go back and forth to the point where Carmen, who's a terrible cleaner, by the way, she accidentally like leaves something like, I think a cloth on like the staircase, and Odessa slips and falls down and has to go to the hospital. And it's revealed why Odessa has a limp. It's because she has a prosthetic leg. Now this prosthetic leg is just mostly used for comedy reasons because that's Mark Cherry for you. I don't understand it. But anyway. And so like pretty much those two are frenemies until It's turned out that Odessa has cancer, and that's why she lost her leg. When Alejandro finds out, he could care less. I mean, he could care less. And it causes Carmen to knock some sense in him and be all like, she has worked for you for so many years. She treats you very well, and like this and that, and she's a human being, and blah 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 blah. And so it makes him come around. But of course, her and Odessa constantly keep going back and forth. They're just frenemies and everything. But her and Sam are different. She takes advantage of Sam's kindness. Basically, when Alejandro and Odessa is not there, she just starts messing around with Alejandro's stuff. She's just like swimming in his pool. She's taking his car for a ride. All kind of crap. Walking around in just like a towel. And, Sam's all like, look, man, I don't want to like lose my job because we're living helping everything. And so like he will do anything for her and try to help her get her music career going and stuff like that. He also wants to date her, but she doesn't want to date. Basically what it is, she had her heart broken a long time ago and she refuses to date anybody. Now she'll use somebody for sex and she'll use Sam for sex, but other than that, like she won't date him. Now, it gets to the point where she does start to soften up and starts to like him, but then it's revealed she is married. She left her husband and he comes back at full force trying to force her out of there, which causes him and Sam to get into a fight and Odessa to take her prosthetic leg and knock him out. This causes her to start to have feelings for that of Sam, and they're going to take it very, very, very slow. Anyways, it's even to the point where when she first didn't want him, he was like sleeping around with another maid next door. And she makes it to where he can't see her no more because the girl is like allergic to dogs. So what she do? She put a dog in Sam's bed. But it's weird. If she didn't want him, then why is she sabotaging his relationships? She's very, very selfish. And she's the most selfish like maid in the show. So basically, when talking about like her music career, because at some point halfway through like the second part of like the season, her whole music aspirations just kind of fade away, and she doesn't even think about that no more until season 2. And she tells Sam that she don't care about music, she just wants him. Well, he tells somebody he's a butler and he's happy being a butler and he doesn't want to be nothing else. This pisses her off and she's all like, don't you have dreams? Don't you have like aspirations to be something better in life? Because when you're 80 and living in a roach motel, you ain't gonna have nothing. And so this causes her to judge him after all he has done for her. So he quits his job and he's gonna make something of himself. But of course he has to leave. And this like upsets her and everything. But anyways, this was so weird. She doesn't want to date, and it took her a long time to date Sam. But when he leaves, she starts to see this one guy who she thinks likes her, and she wants to start dating him. Well, he turns out to be kind of like one of those photog people, them dirty magazine type people who just lies on celebrities and stuff. And it's weird because it's like, if her character is so adamant about not dating, why is she all of a sudden wanting to date that guy? But anyways, so her and Alejandro talk. And the conversation they're having is interesting. It sounds like he might be gay, and he is. And so he's a gay like Latin pop singer, and he doesn't want to come out the closet. But his boyfriend wants him to, and all this other stuff. He doesn't want to come out because he fears that once people find out, his music career is going to be over with. And in a way, it reminds me of Ricky Martin. When Ricky Martin first showed up with that song, all the women wanted to be with him and all the men wanted to be him and everything. Then they found out he was gay, and it was a big eye-opener. I was shocked. So I'm like, I saw that music video, man. I'm like, man, there ain't no way that dude gay and everything. But then he was. And so, like, after that, he pretty much faded away from like America, and like was still making music in Spanish and was still big over in Spanish speaking countries. But in America, he pretty much just like faded away. Then he came back to be like a judge on a reality show, got married, got divorced, got accused of something by like a relative, and it's just kind of like his career has never been the same in America like the way it was when he first started. And for most people, they consider him a one-hit wonder in America, even though he has a huge career in Spanish-speaking countries. So Alejandro fears something like that. And so he's dating this guy, but then he realized he just doesn't want this guy no more. And he has Carmen break up with him. So when he does, the guy trashes his place and he outs him to a magazine. The magazine photographer tries to take pictures as much as possible and is always stalking their house. And so, like, you know how paparazzi are. So when Sam finally does come back and everything, you know, him and Alejandro with their shirts off decide to give each other a hug. Well, of course, the magazine dude assumed that this is Alejandro's boyfriend because he offers. Sorry about that, my camera died. So pretty much the photographer dude, he offers Carmen money to out that of Alejandro, but she won't do it. She was tempted, but she didn't do it. And so now with the photographer taking those pictures and getting away with them and stuff, Alejandro is worried. So his PR team's all like, we gotta find you a girlfriend and we have to get you married. I wonder who that sounds like. There's a certain politician that just now he's black and he just now ran for the presidency. People in his party assume because he wasn't married, he might be gay. So all of a sudden, just like, I mean, the moment that hit, like he had a girlfriend. And then months later, as he's now trying to win the VP spot, now all of a sudden he is engaged. Makes you wonder. So, of course, who does he pick? He picks that of Carmen. This, of course, pisses off Odessa because she has a huge crush on that of Alejandro. So it's just going to cause problems for her and Carmen down the line. But, you know, here's the thing. If he marries her or she marries him for 2 years and then they get a divorce, then she's allowed to have her music career. She can go on tours, an album label, and no matter what, the studio will just pay for it, no matter what, if it's a hit or a flop or whatever. So this causes problems between her and that of Sam. And Sam's all like, you know, you'll be in a fake marriage, but, you know, we're the real thing and all this other stuff. And she's all like, oh, we can just sneak around. And so Alejandro on the PR team is like, no, you can't do that because what if somebody finds out? So Sam's all like, you know, you literally just said you don't care about your music career, you just wanted me. So pick. Is it going to be the music or is it going to be me? She did not answer. So he just walks away and he leaves. And I mean, he leaves, I mean, he's off the show. He was only on the show for a season. And it's like, he's the only nice guy on the show. All the rest of the guys are scummy and everything. And he's the only black dude on the show and he's just written off. And I'm just like, oh, that's classic Mark Cherry. And just like classic Mark Cherry, later on, they'll bring in another black characters. So in season 2, they bring in a whole new set of like black characters who are just like black, you know? And so at least they did that. So at least the show has like finally like a rich black family and stuff like that. But like when it comes to Alejandro and that of Carmen, a little spoiler for season 2. So she does go along with it because she never gave an answer towards the end of the first season. So she goes along with it. And of course, her and Odessa can't get along because of it. But then here's the craziest thing. Alejandro finds his ex-lover from many years ago. And he decides, you know what? I can't go through with this fake marriage. I just want to be with him. This pisses off Carmen because, like, she's not even thinking about Sam. Don't even bring up Sam's name. But she pretty much gave up Sam for this fake marriage. But she's pissed because they're just engaged and not married. And then she's not married, she won't have the music career. He tells her there's nothing to worry about, this and that. Well, here's the thing about Alejandro. He's Afro-Cuban. So, of course, because he has the Afro part in his DNA, he is killed very early on in season 2. I think he's killed in the 3rd or 2nd episode by a home invasion gone wrong. He was shot by mistake and he dies. I don't understand this. Like, I don't understand Mark Cherry sometimes, man, when it comes to black characters. I really, really just don't. Now, yes, the white characters, they're just as terrible too, but it's just like something about the black characters, man. I don't get it. He says he's learning from his Desperate Housewives days, but dude, you gotta learn a whole lot faster than this. Because I remember, like, people really get on to him about his black characters. Like, you know, the actress who played Renee, Vanessa Williams and stuff, she said she hated that Applewhite storyline in season 2. Everybody hates that storyline. I hate season 2 of Desperate Housewives because not only because of that storyline, because of all the Andrew stuff. But the whole Andrew stuff is basically what he went through coming out as a gay man in his teen years with his conservative mother. Because, you know, his family are Republicans and stuff. So they're very conservative. And when he came out, his mom was not cool with that. He's not a conservative no more. He stopped about 8 years ago when Trump became president. And so, like, but the way he writes these black characters are, like, weird. You know what I'm saying? And so people didn't like the Applewhite storyline because when you first see the very first black person on Desperate Housewives, they're in chains. And then it's like you find out why. Then their family leaves at the end of season 2, and there's not another black person on the show until around season 6 or 7 or something like that. Because Desperate Housewives didn't have no black characters, really. And not even as a guest starring and stuff. And so until season 2, and then whenever Renee shows up. But Renee was just an Edie filler and everything. And because, like, you know, Edie was killed off screen because her and Mark Cherry could not get along. Yeah, he has been accused of racism by this one Asian former writer from season 1. And him and Nicolette Sheridan did not get along at all. And it just makes you kind of wonder about him sometimes. Like, he says he's learning, but then when you watch that Why Women Murder, the only black character in season 1, she has a great job, but she's stepping out on her husband, and then she wants to have an open relationship only to mess around with the woman, and he can't mess around with her unless they're both there. And it's just like, the way he wrote her is just like terrible and stuff. Oh, it was also something else about Mark Cherry that I completely forgot about that people always thought was weird with his black characters. In Desperate Housewives, like, every time there would be like a black male character, he would name him Lamar for some bizarre reason. And it's like, because I saw this on Reddit. And it's like, people's always wondering, like, why is he always naming every black dude Lamar for? And I think this also might have happened in, I don't think it happened in Why Women Murder, but people always find that really weird and bizarre. I think what it is that him growing up in that extremely, like, conservative lifestyle, he probably didn't have too many friends of color. Because it's really weird how he writes, like, you know, his blacks, his Hispanics, and his Asian characters. Now, the way some of these people of color are written, especially that of, like, black and Hispanic and stuff like that, are written on the show, and the way they are portrayed, and the way how some of them just disappear and never come back, is quite odd, but not all surprising, because if you ever watch Desperate Housewives, you know, that happens in Mark Cherry's, like, show and stuff. And it's weird. Because, like, the Sam character, Like when I say he disappears and written off the show, he literally disappears. He's never even mentioned again in season 2. And then as I'm watching season 2 now, there is now a rich black family and they are atrocious and everything. Like they are just terrible. And it's like, okay, your first black family on the show is horrible, very similar to how it was in Desperate Housewives with the Applewhites and everything. And I remember 20 years ago, oh, I also forgot when it came to Carmen, like when she was with that music producer dude, before he like dumped her and stuff, he wanted her to drop her accent. And she was trying to do that. Like she was watching like a lot of like, way white people talk and she was trying to imitate them. And I hate seeing that. I really, really hate seeing that. Basically, he said, people in America, they're not going to be used to your like thick accent and all this other stuff. And, they and all this other crap. It's not Americans who don't like hearing that. It's older white generation American people. It's like older white people in their generation and stuff. Back from like the 50s, the 60s, the 40s, and still stuff like that. Because, that's how a lot of TV and music and everything else was revolved around just them. You know what I'm saying? That's why the original Star Trek show, they didn't want a black woman on the show and they didn't want a woman being like the commander sitting on the bridge. They were just weird back in those days and just prejudice and stuff. And the thing is, because a lot of younger people and middle-aged people today, they love hearing stuff from like and seeing stuff from other cultures. Like there are so many white people who love K-pop and love J-pop and love baby metal and stuff. So it's really a generational thing with the older generation that doesn't like that. And because it's weird because like there aren't that many Hispanic singers I listen to that are like from America and stuff. And the only ones I can really think of just from right now on top of my head is Shakira, Demi Lovato, and Jennifer Lopez. And Demi Lovato, I don't even know if she can even speak Spanish and stuff. But she doesn't have an accent. And I've only heard her speak Spanish one time in like a song. And that's only because she collabed with like, this Latin singer and everything. Jennifer Lopez mostly just sings English and doesn't really have too much of an accent when she sings. And people have gotten on to her about that to where she put out like a Spanish label. Same thing with Christina Aguilera and everything. Like how often do you ever hear her speak with an accent or like sing with an accent or sing Spanish and stuff like that? Now, of course, there is Shakira, but Shakira's from like another country and stuff. But it's just like weird how like a lot of these Latin singers in America don't bring out their heritage or even their like, voices and stuff. And their voices always sound so Americanized and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna make a small correction. Before I go into this next character, I keep saying that Perry is the husband. He's actually, Perry is actually the wife, and Spence is the husband that has to do with the Rosie character arc. So yeah, you're constantly gonna hear me say that the husband name is Perry, but it's really Spence. I got their names confused. Rosie, who is played by that Dana Ramirez, and she is my favorite character on the show because of how funny she is. But I remember her from X-Men United. What's that movie? The third movie. Is it Last Stand? X-Men Last Stand. I think it's the third one. I remember her in that. She's also in Sweet Tooth, but I never watched that. And she was Cinderella in the 7th season of Once Upon a Time. I haven't seen that yet. I'm kind of curious now. And so, yeah, I remember her and everything. And she is Dominican Republic, but she plays a Mexican woman. And basically her storyline is that she's an illegal immigrant. She didn't know she was illegal. When she came on over here, she didn't fill out the paperwork. And, well, Therefore you're illegal. And so she came here and started working as a maid for that of Perry and his wife. I forget the wife's name, but like she has a son who's back in Mexico, and he's about 6, and she misses him to death. So she's trying to get him to come over through immigration legally, but there's a lot of red tape. And her character is just like hilarious. She's so oblivious to everything. However, she's probably one of the biggest like Mexican like immigrant stereotypes there is. She has to be somewhere in her late 20s, early 30s. And when she comes to America, she is very, very not bright. Let's just put it that way. And it's just like, as old as she is, she should know some things in America. I get she don't understand phrases. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that. But like, she should be able to understand some like, other things and stuff, but she just doesn't for some bizarre reason. And so like she can't even type. She has to use like 2 fingers. And it's just she's so oblivious to everything to the point where her character is not aging well, because she's basically just like a huge stereotype. Yes. Oops, I knocked my camera over. Yes, there are some people who are like that in everything, but you don't have to have everything be realistic and stuff. And it's even to the point of she's so oblivious to, okay, so like she catches her boss, who's a female, who's an actress. I forget her name in the show, but she's cheating on her husband Perry, and Perry's the former actor and stuff, and Perry's also a lot older. And the female boss lady is just super rude and super racist and stuff, and or at least mildly racist, as she puts it. But yeah, she is mildly racist. I'm thinking of the other lady who's really racist and stuff. And so like they have a kid together, right? And so basically the husband Perry comes in with some underwear and is all like, Rosie, these are not my boxers. Who boxers are these? My wife's cheating on me and I know it. So she lies for the wife and everything. And so one day something happens, and I think what it is that she needs money for an immigration lawyer, something like that. The wife doesn't want to give it, but Perry, the husband, does, and he gives her a hug, and he's sprouting rings and everything, like he's poking her in the side. And so she tells her friends, and they're all like, just pretend like you have a boyfriend. So who does she get? She gets like the gardener and everything, but the gardener doesn't speak English and he's married. And so she's like, this is my boyfriend and we're in love, and he's much older too. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if she works there and speaks to him, and she should know he's married, especially with a ring on his finger. So she's so oblivious to everything. And of course, Perry knows they're not really dating, because he's all like, the dude's married with kids and he's met like, his wife and stuff like that. And I'm just like, why did they write her so oblivious like that? But she's such a kind, sweethearted woman, very religious, and she loves her son to death and just wants him to come over. And she's always covering for like the her boss lady, that's like the wife lady. Because when the lady hits a man with her car, she flees, and it's Rosie who goes and checks on the man and gets him to the hospital and stuff. And she's just a kind, sweethearted woman. But the problem is that she is a hypocrite. Basically, she has an affair with Perry. And it's weird, because at first she didn't want him, but then all of a sudden she did. And so they just constantly start sleeping with each other. And it's like, so he wants an open marriage with the wife, and the wife's boyfriend is all like, if a man wants an open marriage, that means he's already had somebody. But the wife doesn't know who. And so basically she's living in their home, she's sleeping with the husband, and like when she finds out Marcel is hiding a secret. She's so mean to her, talking about I hate you and everything like that. Like, she's very emotional and she's very hypocritical and judgmental when she's doing a bad thing herself. And but then she later forgives what's her name and stuff. And so it's always like she's just a very emotional character who's very hypocritical and stuff like that. Like, she will get on, like she gets on to like the wife, talking about how you're stepping down on your husband. And then when she's put with another family in season 2, she gets on to like, that wife for stepping out with her husband and stuff. But other than that, she has like a very, very kind, sweet heart. And it's to the point where sex is so good between her and him that he has a heart attack. Because he's older and stuff. But she doesn't ever really look at his age as like a problem. And so she has to start working for the Powells at one point to spy on them. And so, like, but she quits working for them, even though she knows it's very, very important. Pretty much like when she helps with like, that dude who got hit by her boss's car, the boss lady wants to be all nice. So what she does is she flies to Mexico and she steals that Rosie's son so that Rosie can be with her son. So she smuggled a person across like state lines. And at first, the husband's all like, no, you can't do that. And we don't want him here and blah, 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 because he thinks that, she will leave him and all this other stuff and all this other crap. Because she tells him, I can't keep sleeping with you because your wife done such a nice thing for me. And so basically, he doesn't want her son over here. She later finds out about this, come out like, oh, my husband talking about we should do this the legal way with red tape and all this other crap and documents and stuff. So she doesn't want nothing to do with like, Perry no more. Who is Spence? I'm trying to think. Somebody's name is Spencer or something like that. I wonder if Spencer the wife's name. I don't know. It could be. Maybe that's the wife's name, Spencer. I don't know. Anyway. So one day when the wife is on like her movie set, she calls like, Rosie, and the son picks up. And when he takes the phone into like the room, of course, like, Rosie and Perry are talking about being in love and this and that. So this causes the wife to be pissed. But they also got found out by one of the Powells and everything, where they get blackmailed. And, the Perry guy, he's not an all-round, like, terrible person. He just wants to be loved, and his wife does not treat him with respect. She makes fun of him, makes fun of his acting, and she cheats on him and stuff. So he just wants a good woman to, like, fall in love with, and he found Rosie. And so it's even to the point where, like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this at the end. So the very last episode, when the wife finds out that those two are having an affair, she calls ICE on her. And it turns out Rosie is here illegally because she didn't fill out the paperwork. A little spoiler for season 2. She was in a detention center for 3 months. She got out, and so the wife is just very shocked. Now, the wife only appears in season 2 as a guest star because she's on another show now. Perry still stays there, but there's no point for him staying there because, the wife's not there and he's no longer can date Rosie because the wife said, I'll tell everybody and I'll embarrass you and all this other stuff and talking about how you cheat on me with like a maid. And so he breaks up with that Rosie. Now, I'm only in 3 episodes in season 2, so I don't really know what happens with them after that. But pretty much Rosie starts working for a black family in season 2. So I just realized this, the actress who plays Marisol, Anna Ortiz, she's supposed to play a Mexican, but she's not. Like, the actress is actually Puerto Rican and white. So why not just make her character Puerto Rican? Like, I don't understand that. So, Marisol character. Marisol is played by Anna Ortiz, and Marisol She has to do with this whole murder mystery thing because the show is a murder mystery, just like Desperate Housewives. There's a murder mystery, but the murder mystery is always like second place to that of like the main characters and whatever it is they're doing on the show, just like Desperate Housewives. She is investigating a murder of a maid named Flora because like her son Eddie is accused of murdering Flora. So she's pretending to be a maid. She's really an English professor. And this came out when she was at the grocery store with that Rosie, and one of her former students saw her and everything, which caused Rosie to look her up on the internet and caused Rosie to be very furious at her and everything. She's all like, I'm doing this for my son. He's like, accused and this and that. Flora was your friend. And for whatever reason, Rosie just went crazy on her and everything. She didn't care that Marcel did this for like, her son, trying to get him out of jail. She didn't care about the whole like her friend being murdered and everything. And she was so hypocritical because somebody reminded her, her son's over in Mexico and she's trying to get him over here. And it's just so weird and how hypocritical like, Rosie is, especially when she gets on to like wives who have affairs, but then she had an affair with a married man. And even to the point where she wanted to marry him when he proposed and everything. But anyways, so Marcel, she's like, I like her character. I like how investigative she is. It is kind of odd. Like, I would assume she would have been related to Flora, because that's normally how these murder mystery type things go. But no, she's related to Eddie, which shocked me because Eddie looks as white can be. And everything, but I guess he's not. And so, like, she's working with like the lawyer, and all the evidence that they keep coming up with isn't enough to put like whoever it is away. Plus they had to find out who exactly murdered that Flora, and it leads you from like one man in the show to like another and another, because they always make you think it's one person, but it's not. And so for the most part, she is working for that of Taylor and Michael. Michael is the lawyer for a bunch of the rich people who like, are in this show. And so with Taylor and Michael, basically Taylor used to be a prostitute, then she met Michael, she fell in love for money and they got married and stuff. And so like, she doesn't have a job, nothing like that. None of these women have jobs other than the maids. And so like they're trying to have a kid, and this pisses off Michael's ex-wife because Michael's ex-wife was unable to give him kids and he dumped her. Now the woman who plays Michael's ex-wife, I forget her name, but she's from Desperate Housewives from season 3, and Mark Cherry always cast her as the same type of role, a disgruntled woman who husband left her and she wants to try to have babies by him, and she keeps trying to like kill herself just so he'll fall back in love with her and this and that. It's the second time this woman has played that type of role. Now Michael is a sleazebag. He's cheated on his wives. He covers up stuff because he's a lawyer. He has to bribe people because he's the lawyer, stuff like that. But other than that, he is like a good man. But yeah, he's a recurring character, and he basically makes a guest appearance, I think, in season 2 or something like that, or 3. Taylor's not really in the show no more after season 1. It's weird how so many of the main characters and recurring characters don't return for like the other seasons. And they keep bringing in all these new people for other seasons, and I hate when they do stuff like that in television. But Marisol is like very good at this whole investigating stuff. She goes to like the house to get a job there also, where like, the murder happened, and the family, the husband's sleazy, and he knows that she's not really a maid, so he's curious to know like what she's about, and he plans on finding out, but he never does. The wife is just really rude, nasty, and mean, and it makes it really hard for them. Basically, she finds a note where Flora talks about like something bad happened to her, and then she tried to hide it only for the wife to find, and then the husband gets it, and then he burns it. Then she finds out there's a secret hidden room in their house, and where the husband videotapes prostitutes and other people having sex with all these like wealthy men, and he just watches them and stuff. She tries to get the tape, which that she needs, the disc and everything, but is unable to, and then sends in Rosie to get it. And so basically, she would do anything to get her son out. Like, she befriended the maids just to get close to them to find out what they know about Flora, only to get close to the pals where Flora used to work at, to get close to Flora's grandmother, who grandson or nephew, whatever, doesn't want like Marcel talking to her and stuff, only because like, the woman, I forget what she has. Is that an Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that? So basically, she thinks Marcel is that of Flora, and just starts like spilling the beans and this and that. One thing keeps leading to another, where she suspects this one man did that horrendous act and everything, and they have to like, catch him in the act. So all the maids decide they're gonna stage something to where this man goes like into that room with the hidden camera and everything, and they get a confession out, but he doesn't confess. And he even tried to have Marcel murdered. Like, he hired like an assassin to shoot her, but it shoots Taylor in the stomach, causing her, I think, to lose the baby or something like that. Then he tries to like pick up a knife and was gonna kill Marcel with it until somebody else showed up. And so, who is this mystery man that killed Flora, and who exactly is Flora, and who are the pals? So, Flora, she is shown in the very first episode, in the very beginning, and she's a maid. Basically, Evelyn, who has red hair, who I recognize now from Ghost. And so her husband, Adrian Powell, she tells like, Flora, that I know you've been sleeping with my husband and this and that, and it's gonna stop and you're fired and all this other stuff. Only for Adrian to be all like, how dare you seduce me and blah, 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 stuff like that. She gets furious and she writes a note. The only word we're able to read from the note that the camera pans on is the R word. Can't say the R word on YouTube no more. So basically it says somebody sexually assaulted her. This makes people assume it's Adrian. And when you find out about Adrian, you know that he is very sleazy. He hires tons of prostitutes, and even when he can't find a prostitute, he will get a maid and solicit her to solicit men. And he gets all these wealthy, rich people and stuff like that. They go into this one room where they do it, and then he records them only for him to watch the videos. He's really, 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 really disgusting. So you assume it's him, only till you know straight up it's not. Anyway, then we later see her, a person with a knife, dressed in like black or whatever, black gloves, and stabs her, and then she falls into the pool. Then Eddie, the son of Marcel, comes staggering out with a knife in his hand. So they assume he did it. And so, like, we don't know nothing about Flora. And unlike Desperate Housewives, she's not narrating, like, the episodes like that one lady did in Desperate Housewives, which I was a nice touch in Desperate Housewives. Like, I'm telling you, there's something about this show. It tries to be like Desperate Housewives, but it's not quite there. And so we learn from the maids that Flora was pregnant with somebody's baby, somebody who was rich, and she tried to get money from them. And so, like, this is when Michael comes into play and gives her like a check, and she's all like, this is half of what I wanted. And he's all like, well, the man's not gonna pay that. And she's all like, well, I'll tell everybody that he assaulted me and blah 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 and stuff like that. So this gave motive to the man that did it. Now, at one point, you assume it's Michael because he's on those videos and stuff, cheating and stuff, but it's not him. Then, like, it turns out that, like, Eddie had a secret business. He was a drug dealer and stuff. And one of his clients or whatever is Remy. And so then they assumed that Remy had a relationship with Flora and that he got her pregnant. So they assume it's him, but it's not him. And so like, it turns out to be his father, Felipe. Now, Felipe is played by a disgraced actor. I forget his first name, but his last name is Collins. He was on Seventh Heaven and No Ordinary Family. This is one of his last roles. He got canceled in 2014 because he confessed to messing around with 3 underage girls. And so there's probably more, but those are only 3 he confessed to. So he is ultra canceled, and rightfully so. And because of that, it's weird he's playing a sexual assaulter in this show, and he's one in real life. And so when it comes to the Powell, the husband and wife, they have a weird relationship. The wife is super racist and everything. And he is super sleazy. Now, they've been married for so many years, and it turns out they used to have a 6-year-old boy. He was riding his bike in the street. She turned her head. He got hit by a car. Because of this, Adrian wants nothing to do with his wife. He hasn't touched her in over 30 years. And so she craves the attention for him, but she wants him so bad. But he said part of the agreement for him to stay, because she has no job and can't even vacuum and everything, is that he never touches her. And so when she found out he was messing around with Flora, she ended that relationship. Basically, he always tells people, if you have a kid, keep them away from my wife. Basically, when Rosie started working for them, she brought the son over of Perry and his wife, and she became very attached to that kid. Bought him gifts, this and that, took him out to the mall for over an hour. And that's how she found out about Perry and Rosie, when she went and bought a gift to their house and saw them doing it. She hates Marisol to death because Marisol told Michael about the tapes, because he didn't know he was being recorded in that room. So he goes over and beats the snot out of like Adrian, only for Evelyn to come in with a baseball bat and give him all the tapes that have to do with him. So when all this craziness is happening and Michael finds out who Marisol is, and like, you know, tells that Felipe, who is soon to be again the husband of like Genevieve, well, Adrian and Evelyn decide we're gonna murder him. So there are now 2 things going on. You have the maids with their scheme, and then you have Adrian and his wife with their scheme to you know, the maids were gonna just have a confessional, but he didn't confess on the tape. So Adrian drugs him and then throws him out the window, and he dies. And that's it. So of course the cops think, oh, you know, well, we're just gonna arrest the Powells and everything, until the maids lied and said, you know, they overheard something and that like Felipe wanted to like, you know, off himself. So they saved them and everything. And so, of course, Eddie's out of like prison and everything, and then he never shows up again in this series. He's not even in the 2nd season. Now, a little spoiler for season 2 when it comes to Marisol and the Powells. Marisol is, of course, no longer a maid, and you think, okay, since her story is over, why is she still on the show? Well, now she's gonna marry a very rich man, and there's another murder mystery that revolves this man. I don't see the point in having another murder mystery in like season 2. It just repeats the formula of that of Desperate Housewives. And not only that, But in 3 episodes going into season 2, so far it's not very good. Some people don't like season 2. That is Mark Cherry's flaw. Every time he has a season 2 in his shows, Desperate Housewives, Why Women Murder, and now this, it's always lackluster. So she's on the show for that. As for the pals and everything, there's really no point for them being on the show, but their characters are so the way they are, people didn't want to get rid of them. And I understand that. So they have Valentina start working for them. But here is the crazy thing. 3 episodes going in, their personalities have shifted. Now, Adrian is no longer a sleazebag. There's no mentioning of him recording people and getting prostitutes and this and that. They made him the comedic relief so far in 3 episodes because of a home invasion, and he is terrified. Him and Evelyn now love each other, and they now touch each other and stuff. She's no longer talking about the kids she lost and all this and that, but she's fallen in love with the bodyguard. So she is going to start stepping out soon. And it's just odd. It's odd how they're trying to redeem Adrian when, he is disgusting. And I mean disgusting. He even tried to get Rosie to solicit to men and everything. It's odd how they're trying to redeem Evelyn when she is a racist. So they give her a man of color, the bodyguard, to try to be with. And it's just weird how they try to redeem these two characters and stuff. I will say I am very shocked that Felipe was the murderer and everything. The one who killed Flora with the knife and then hit Eddie in the head and put the knife in his hand. You did not see this twist coming and everything, because when he's portrayed early on in the series, he's a really nice guy. When Genevieve needs money, he'll give it to her, and of course he wants to sleep with her. That's just a typical sleazebag type thing to do. And he cheats on her and everything. And when his son was back on drugs, he put his son in rehab. Other than that, there was no indication that it was him. They kept trying to plant it on almost every other man on the show. And I would have liked it if it would have been them. I would have liked it if it was Remy, because, here you have Zola constantly saying that, men cheat, rich men cheat, and they're going to break your heart, and he's probably bad for you, and the drugs. It would have been more interesting if it was him, because here's this person who's portrayed really nice, but we see his flaws, and then that would have been the major flaw right there. And it just doesn't, it's just kind of like when you go through a story and they're really building a case on one character, but then all of a sudden it's this other character who you just don't suspect or is barely in the show. And I hate reveals like that and stuff. They're not satisfying. It would have been also better if it was Adrian or something like that, or the lawyer, Michael. But to have him be it was just kind of just weird. Now, of course, like I said before, the actor is a disgusting man. And it's just ironic that he played a character like that. And that's how he is in real life. That will, violate somebody. Because the reveal that it was him was shocking, because they told Remy, we thought, your father, this and that, or something made him think about him. Thinking it could be him, so then he punched his father and whispered something in his ear, and I knew it was something. And then so basically he tells her, she was hired to do him and everything. But when she found out that Remy was his son, she didn't want to do nothing with him. But then he forced himself on her, because he said, women like that, they never say no. So then it's oh, he did it and everything. And it was just shocking, but it just still came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? All in all, I really enjoy season 1. It is really good. It's really juicy. And but it is on Hulu. You can watch it there, or you can buy it on DVD. The DVD I am not buying because of the simple fact this came back out in 2013. and the DVD is still $20. That don't make no sense. And it's 13 episodes. That's just highway robbery in my opinion. I think the show is really, really good. There are flaws here and there when it comes to race and the interpretation of them. It's like everybody from white to Hispanic to black are misrepresented at some points in times. And like Mark Cherry has a real problem writing race. Like he really does. And even though the white characters are like terrible in this show, and I mean they are terrible, somehow a lot of them still come out being better than like the people of color at times. And it's even to the point to where they will remain on the show, but then a person of color will end up leaving the show, be written off, being killed, or something like that. And it's just really odd. Like I said before, the white people in this show, they're all portrayed to be either like sleazebags, cheaters, or like racist and everything. But even so, they still come off a whole lot better than some of these people of color characters. And it's just so weird and odd how that is. And one other thing that really made me mad is that the Powells, they the ones succeeded in getting revenge for Flora and killing that of Felipe, when it should have been the maids who came up with their own plan to out him. They should have been the ones to save the day. They should have been the ones to get revenge. They should have been the ones to get that confessional so that he can spend the rest of his life in prison. But instead, they gave the glory to the white family and stuff. And I don't understand that. And it's supposed to be a show about like Hispanics. And I still haven't seen the show this is based off of because I don't speak Spanish and stuff like that. I am curious to see how it is. I'm not throwing my camera. I'll probably check out some clips if I'm able to find it on YouTube and stuff like that. Because I am really curious to know how different that show is from like this one. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.